11 with Jenna. 11 with Jenna. 11 with Jenna. And Lillian Pearl. She's hiding down there. There she is. Lillian. Really? Hi, girl. Hi, girl. What's up, everybody? Good morning. We have a little bit of a weird lighting thing going on right now. But my name is Jenna. This is 11 with Jenna. I'm here 7 days, 7 nights, 14 times a week. What? At 11 a.m. and 11 p.m. And this light is just, oh, do I want to do that? Nope. But I want to do this. And I'm really excited because we have a different Friday morning guest. Who could that be? And usually we're doing the Zoom thing, but right now we're doing a Facebook Live thing because it just works better. And I would dream if that light could turn on right over there. Just a dream. Let's just see what happens. Dreaming when you're feeling blue. Oh no, maybe that light. Sometimes when you have an expert lighting designer, you get to have those kinds of things. Because I'm really blown out in the world. It's Friday morning, and usually my cousin Armando Ortega is here, but he's not here today. He is at the physical therapist because he's getting old. That's what happens, right? You get old. But it's good to get old because if you don't get, as our father would say, what's the alternative, right? So I'm excited, and I'm going to set this up here in a second. And anyway, what are you guys doing? Who's here? Who's here? No, I just can't see who's here. William D. and Michael, hello, and somebody else, but I don't know who. But I'm happy that you're here, and I'm going to just look really quick. Ron Burns and Nicholas Knight. Nicholas Knight, the name rings a bell. Good morning. What are you eating? What are you drinking? What's happening? Where are you going today? Are you outside? Did you see the moon? Mama Grace. Alaska Airlines, last chance to save $500. How do I save $500 on Alaska Airlines? I guess I buy another ticket. Well, I'll be doing that. I'll be buying a ticket from New York City. What? Yeah, New York City. When? Jazz at Lincoln Center, May 24th. Dizzy's. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Hey, Jessie. What's up, girl? How are you? Wow. I am looking out. I did see the moon. Saw the moon last night. Saw the moon today. Seeing everybody's. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm actually good. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I need a hat. I don't have a hat.
I didn't have a hat, but I was like looking at my hair going, I'm going to wear a hat.
Yeah, the hat thing. What's to say on your hat?
New York or nowhere?
We were just talking about New York. No, because I already have this on. But, ladies and gentlemen, usually I have music and I have I have a whole different setup when I'm on Zoom. So I say, ladies and gentlemen, and the music, thanks to Dave Love, goes diddle 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 diddle. And I say, bounce, bounce, bounce. Well, you know what it is when the person comes in from behind the curtain.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, Michael Wolff. And there goes my alarm.
Just froze.
Turn off all alarms. Nope, you're not. You're here.
I wonder if that's my...
It's not. It was me. But you're here. What do you see right now in front of you?
Well, I see a computer screen and a TV screen.
Yeah, the screen is there. Hi, Bonnie Barker. There are people coast to coast watching us right now. So you have books behind you too. Don't we look smart?
Study, that's why, in Atherton, California.
You're in Atherton. Nice.
Well, my wife grew up in Palo Alto.
Your wife, your beautiful wife, your beautiful, talented wife. What doesn't she do? Now you froze.
Now I froze. But should I call you? I'll call you on my phone. Do you think that might be better?
What are you calling me on?
I'm on my computer using the internet.
Oh, the internet.
Oh, you know, the www World Wide Web internet.
That thing, yeah. I hear you.
Am I freezing again on you?
No. No, you're good. But I don't know what you can see. You can see the big TV in front of you. But you're here.
No, I can see you and me now on the screen. Now I can just see me.
Well,
now I can see
you have a big
table.
Big presence. So you're in California. How long have you been here?
I got there Friday, and lives in LA.
You are freezing. Let's see. Let me just check something really quick. Hi there. Let me do something. Hold on. Don't go anywhere.
I wonder if it's me. I don't know.
This is very the way we're doing the show right now is very March of 2020.
Okay. Well, what was the other way you wanted me to do it, through Facebook?
Yeah, Facebook Live. But this is fine. This is working. I'm just trying to get my Wi-Fi on, and it's not cooperating.
Oh, we're not doing it through Wi-Fi.
Well, we are sometimes, but all of a sudden right now we're not. Hi, everybody. Hold on a second. It's not wanting to jump onto Wi-Fi, and I don't know.
That's weird.
Wi-Fi? Yeah, I'm clicking on it. It says it's on, but it's not. Anyway, we're here. Oops. Now you're small. Now you froze again.
Well.
I'm going to call you right back.
Okay.
Okay. Bye. Michael Wolff, everybody. Michael Keel, hello. Okay, there it is. Now it's on Wi-Fi. I think it wouldn't let me do it when I was there. Let's try this again.
Sounds louder.
Does it? All right. So usually I do a Zoom to Facebook, but
Right.
and then other times I do this thing called Facebook Live, where if you were to have been on Facebook Live, then your friends would know that you're here. But some of them might know anyway.
Well, I just posted it.
Thank you. So you're in California for the weekend? For a hang?
Yeah, so I came up to Northern California. I was here last Friday, so I came up yesterday, to do this gig, and it turns out my wife is with me, and my sons are both flying in for it.
Wow.
So I'll probably perform a tune or two with each of them, which would be fun. And, that's it.
Cool.
I'm excited to be at Joe Henderson Lab. I had to cancel 2 times about 6 years ago when I was really sick with cancer and I couldn't make it. And then 2 years ago when COVID, I had a gig booked in March, and because of COVID, we had to cancel. So I'm glad to finally make it back here. And I've played a lot of SF jazz, performances over the years, but never at the new facility. So I'm really excited to do it.
And I'll be at the second set.
Nice.
Because you want to know why I'm going to the second set?
No.
Because the first set is sold out, brother.
That's what I'm talking about. That's good. Well, it's a small place, but seats I think 107 people, so I'm really happy about that.
It's a cool vibe because it's so open, and there's a lot of life to it. I love that room.
Oh, I'm excited. Yeah, I hear it's really pretty, and it's open, and hopefully we'll have good weather, on Saturday, and with daylight savings, it should be sunny for the 7 o'clock. I don't know how late the sun's going down, but whatever, it'll be a blast. And I brought out my trio from New York, Ben Allison on bass, and Alan Mednard on drums, and truthfully, it's a big expense to do it, but it's really worth it. I've been playing with these guys for about 3 or 4 years, and we've made a couple of recordings together, and I'm very excited. I'm going to premiere a couple new pieces. One is called Left Out, which I actually, if you buy my book at the end, there's a barcode and you get a free song called Left Out, which is a duo I did with my son Alex Wolff, and it's a piece I wrote. And then I'm debuting on the West Coast my concerto that I wrote for jazz piano trio and string quartet, but without the string quartet. But I have a trio version of it. It's a suite, and it's called Pandemia. You can imagine what that's about. So I'm really excited to get out and play. I played a few places in New York and Birdland and stuff like that, but I haven't played much since COVID. So it's great to be on the road.
So, what did you do the last 2 years? You wrote.
Well, I teach. I'm a professor at NYU in the music program, so I Zoomed. We Zoomed. Man, that was a drag, but I did it. So I had students. I had an ensemble, and instead of the ensemble, because of the latency over Zoom or whatever programs, you can't really play together. So I came up with this whole idea of making tracks at home, because I have a little studio at home. So I made tracks and sent it around to each of the students, and they would each put their part on it, and then we would analyze it. And that was the best I could do. And then I did a lot of, I've been a musician, a professional musician, since I was 19. So I took some time and really studied a little music, and I worked on some stuff that I hadn't got to work on. I composed. I had written a lot for orchestra, but not for string quartet. So I got really into minimalism music. Teddy Riley, not Teddy Riley, but Reich, and just people like that. And so it was really a great time for me in a weird way. But because I'm a cancer survivor, I have to be super, super careful about this COVID thing. So I didn't even walk the dog for a while before there were vaccines, and I was really, really careful. Been stuck at home, and in an apartment in New York. That was hard, and I couldn't travel, so I didn't see my kids for a long time because they both were on the West Coast.
They're both in LA. Okay.
They were at that time, yeah. But my wife was actually working during the time. She wrote a script for a studio. She directed a couple things. She acted in Billions. She acted in Hacks. She did some movies. She did this movie that just came out, Shiva Baby, which was a big hit. And so everybody was busy, but it was a kind of a contemplative time for me. And I put out videos of things I was working on, on the piano, and just things that people might want to know. Since I've been teaching, it's made me, they say a bird is not an ornithologist. I've always been a bird. I've just been flying, just been playing. But teaching now, I have to be more of an ornithologist and studying it. So I put out a little more stuff I've been thinking about, sharing as a pianist and a composer.
Did you? So it was you and Polly at the house?
Yeah, it was the two of us. Mm-hmm. I'll tell you what we did. It actually was great for our relationship, because again, both of us had been traveling and busy. But what we did was, we get up in the morning, we see each other, have a little breakfast, and then we would split for the day. She'd go to her office, and she was writing a script at the time, and she has the best concentration of anybody I know. She could power through it all day long, and then I would go to my studio and play and compose, and then at night, at 7 o'clock at night in New York, everybody would open the windows and clap really loud for the first responders, for the doctors and the firemen and all the people that were helping people with COVID. New York was ground zero. New York was like living on a cruise ship. It was so bad in the beginning. Everybody's around each other. So many people were sick and dying. And then at 7:05, we would get on FaceTime with a couple friend of ours, Tony, is an actor, Tony Shalhoub, and his wife, Brooke Adams. And every night for at least 6 or 7, 8 months, we'd have dinner together with them. This was our only social contact. They would, Tony would cook for them, Polly would cook for us. They'd compare, and they'd be very competitive with their food. And then we just sit and talk about our kids, talk about our lives, crack up, We ended up writing monologues for each other to tape, acting monologues. We just had a blast, actually, as much as you can have, on that.
So you create, out of that connection right there, that reinforced your friendship? I know who Tony Shalhoub is. I love Tony Shalhoub.
Yeah, we really enforced our friendship. I mean, we were always best friends. My wife went to Yale with him, Yale Drama School, and he and I have known each other for 30 years, and I've known his wife the same amount, even longer, because she and my wife had done plays together in New York. They were best friends, so we're always close, but we didn't see each other every day, even though they live in New York. So it was actually really, you think it would get boring, but it was actually a treat. It was what we all of us looked forward to at the end of the day of whatever we were doing. I mean, for Tony, he's on the show, The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, and they had to stop shooting, and Brooke is an actress, and she was painting a lot, and it was a unique experience, anything like it. And I have to say, I lost about 4 or 5 years of my career to my cancer and being sick, and then having to lose a couple of years to this, it really pissed me off. I was really angry about it. But at the same time, I think we made the best of it. I was lucky we could be in an apartment that was big enough for us. Some people are in a studio apartment, some couples trying to do their work from home. That's super hard, and I had to teach. So I had to be in a place where I had a keyboard or piano. So, luckily we had a large enough, I think you've been to my place. It was a large enough place.
It's amazing.
Yeah, so very lucky. I mean, I'm not complaining about it, but
but it still was in that one place, you're still...
that one place all the time, and I have had an oncologist, and at this point I've been cured of my cancer, and I go in once a year. Yeah, it's a miracle. It's in my book, of course, but I had a cancer that was only 300 people had been known to have had, and it was untreatable. There was no treatment. It was stage 4. It was in every organ of my body. I was given 3 months to live, and then this doctor, at that time they were doing genomic blood testing as a trial method. This was 7 years ago or 6 years ago at Memorial Sloan Kettering, and then they found at the very end, I was dying. I had basically died one night, and I was at the ICU, and I was in the hospital for 3 weeks. And then I got home, and they still didn't know what to do, and so we tried, holistic stuff, and that didn't work, and I was really fading. I was in bed for 8 months before that. And then this doctor got my biopsy and found some mutation and found a little pill that was used for people with melanoma, and in 2 days my symptoms were gone, and in 10 days, 80% reduction in my tumors, and within a year there was no cancer. And I kept on the medicine a couple more years, and then we just stopped it, and that's it. I super lucked out.
Total miracle.
I mean, I got a lot of side effects from the treatments, because that's what they say now is they never had so many people surviving cancer as they do now. So now they have to study the side effects, because when you have it, they just throw everything at you, and a lot of things have bad effects. But I'm the luckiest person ever, really. And what happened was my doctor wrote a paper on my case for the New England Journal of Medicine, and another drug company came in and created a drug for it. So now, anybody that gets the cancer that I have, 100% of them are cured. So if I didn't do anything else in my life, just by getting that cancer and getting to that particular rare cancer doctor, it did something. So I'm proud of that.
And if we were at my other venue where I do the show, I would be doing a double standing ovation for you right now. And one for Polly and one for your doctor and everybody else involved in the healing.
Renowned Gounder. Yeah, I go into this extensively in my book. I mean, my book's not about cancer. It's about, my life as a musician.
Tell us about the book.
It's great. It's a memoir I started before I got cancer. My father-in-law, who I'm visiting, is a businessman and one of the first venture capitalists in Silicon Valley, and he was under Secretary of State of the UN at one point, really had a big career. And so he wrote a really nice memoir years ago. And he was always telling me, man, we sit at the dinner table, you tell these great stories, you should write a book. And I never thought I could write a book. So at one point I thought, well, maybe I'll write a how-to book, because I've done so many jobs in music, how to be a jazz piano player, accompanist, to a singer.
Yes, write that book, please. I know a few people I'd send it to.
I talk about it in my book a little bit.
I work with great accompanists, but yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, as a teacher at NYU, that's a really hard thing to teach, because you're just sitting with a pianist in a room, because accompanying is really a special about. Anyway, so.
But you've worked with
the
some
book.
of the best. That probably that you've worked with some of the best
I
that
have,
that
you know,
made you the best.
That's exactly right. You know, I worked with Nancy Wilson for 5
You
years.
worked with
when I
Nancy
started.
Wilson. Does anybody
When I
remember? I know there are
Huh?
people old enough on my show. Do you remember the jingle, "From one dear lover to another strows"?
Oh, yeah.
That's Nancy Wilson.
Yeah, well, it's something. Check her out.
Nancy
She was one of the
Wilson.
great jazz singers, along with Sarah Vaughan and Ella. And I got to play with Sarah Vaughan.
Did you play with Ella?
I've never played with Ella, but I played with Sarah.
You played with Sarah.
And I played with a lot of greats. You know, I played with Natalie Cole, who's really on that style of the way those women, you know, she was younger, but she sang when I played with her that style, and it was like a hand in a glove. It's like, oh, you know, those days. And then I played, you know, I went to play with Anita O'Day, you know, just, man, I was a working musician. I just took the gigs that I got, you know. I had Flora Purim for a while, which was great. But,
And I'm going to interrupt really quickly. Last Friday night, I had dinner with Valerie Joyce.
oh, yeah, we made a couple records together. I didn't know you knew Valerie. Were you in Seattle?
In Seattle. I was there
Oh, yeah.
visiting a dear friend of mine who has cancer.
Oh, yeah,
Who
that's right, you told me that.
she basically a month ago was I booked my ticket a month ago because she was not doing well, and the day I landed, she received from her her scans from her oncologist 50% of her tumors have shrunk 50%, and some of them are gone, girl, gone.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know, some people have some magical responses,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
You know what it's like, and I do talk about this in my book. You go through this door. Once you get cancer, which is the scariest word in the world, it's scarier than anything you can imagine, you know. But once you get that diagnosis, I was in shock, you know. But I was diagnosed first with a type of what they call indolent lymphoma, which means it's not really killing you. You live with it for a while. When you get sick, they treat it. And hopefully that lasts for 5 years or so. Then it comes back and they treat it. And I wasn't expected to be that bad, but of course I wasn't getting well after a year and a half of treatment. It turned out I had a way worse non-indolent cancer. So, but you step through this door of cancer, and then you get into this world, and you know it's awful and scary, but you do see all the people that dedicate their lives to it, man. I mean, they're not there to make money. You know, you go to Memorial Sloan Kettering, and first of all, I didn't have any doctor over 40. You know, it's all mostly young people.
Right. You're like, wait, you're my son's age. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
What's up with that? What's up with that? You know, but they're just awesome, and they're like my oncologist would say. This is what, you know, when I first was responding, he goes, look at the hair on my arms. This is why I come every day. You know, and it's just they just so research. Everybody that's a doctor there is a researcher. You know, anyway, they're so committed. But okay, so let's go back to my book. So I was
What's it
writing
called?
this book. Huh?
What's it called?
The book is called On That Note, a memoir of jazz, tics, and survival, because I have Tourette's syndrome, so I talk a lot about that. Before I got cancer, I thought Tourette's syndrome was the worst thing I'd have to deal with. Then I got cancer and went, oh man, fuck Tourette's syndrome.
Right.
That wasn't shit. But it is over, you know, a lot of people that really have a hard time with it, and I've had a hard time with it. And, yeah, when I was really sick with cancer for about 2 or 3 years on all those drugs, my Tourette's went away. There was no room in my body for it. But then I remember once I was at one of my doctors, and she said, I think you're getting better. I go, why? She goes, because your tics are coming back. And she was right. It's about the energy.
So it shut it down.
Yeah, I just didn't have the energy in my body. I was on so many drugs, you know, Percocets all day long, prednisone, millions of drugs, man. It just was awful. I wouldn't wish it on Trump. That's how bad that cancer was, man. So, anyway.
But maybe there's somebody else. No, I'm sorry.
Maybe there's what?
Somebody else we could wish it on, but I won't. I just.
Yeah, maybe I know that person you're thinking of, and maybe I would.
Yeah.
No, I would just wish a real swift thing to happen to that person. But anyway, so when I started the book, I started a how-to book, and I did all the, you know, I wrote about 100 pages, how to be a conductor, how to be a leader, how to be a sideman, how to be on the road, you know, all that kind of stuff.
Had you written before though? Were you ever? I mean, you're a I know you wrote jokes. You're a funny guy.
I wrote a lot of comedy because I did stand up for 5 years in the '80s. Was I a writer? I mean, I would write. No, I wasn't a writer. I never wrote a book. I never wrote an essay. I mean, you know, I was a reader, so I started reading when I was really young as a kid. I read every book I could get my hands on. All the great authors I could find, like Hemingway and Fitzgerald, and you know, millions and millions of authors, and you know, whatever. I just would go through author, like read everything by that author, you know. But I wasn't a writer, and I'll be honest. Once I wrote this 100 pages, I realized, because I'm a big Salinger fan, I don't know if anybody's read Catcher in the Rye, but the character Holden Caulfield is taking a speech class, and they have a subject that the person is supposed to speak on. But if they leave that subject, they yell out, digression, digression. You know, they have to go back to the point. And Holden Caulfield says, I really like the digressions better. And that's what happened was when I read through my 100 pages, there were stories that I had told related to each subject, and I realized, man, that's where I'm at. I don't really want to write a how-to book. So then I threw that out, and I started writing. And it took me about 2 years. You know, I'd write every day at my computer, and I didn't write hours a day, maybe a half hour, an hour, because, you know, I had to do my music and my career. And but I'd write. I was always the tortoise rather than the hare, even in music. I wasn't an 8-hour-a-day practicer, but I was every day practice a couple hours, you know, whatever. So it took me 2 years of writing to find what I consider my voice as a writer, just like I have my voice as a musician, which took years, you know. So, where I wasn't sounding like, I don't know, the New Yorker or something, or whatever, you know, I don't know what it was. But I wanted to write the way I speak. So, I mean, it has to be better than that, but, you know, so there's a lot of swear words in there, to be honest. And the rhythm that I have as a speaker and as a player and as a comic and all that, I wanted that in the book. So, you know, that took quite a while. And I had help from a really good friend of mine, Da Chin, who's a Chinese guy, but he writes in English, and he just passed away. But he was a great memoirist. He sold hundreds of thousands of books, and he told about his life growing up under Chairman Mao and, you know, just awful stuff that he had to go through. And so he would look, I would send him my chapters, because I didn't write necessarily chronologically. I would write, like, I'm going to write a chapter about Cal Tjader and me, or I'm going to write about Cannonball, or I'm going to write about growing up in the South, or I'm going to write, you know, that's how I wrote it. That's what would come to my mind. And he would say, okay, great. And he would make comments about it, you know, what was really me, what wasn't. And I just kind of had to find it. It's just like music, you know. You can, I teach at NYU, and there's all this information you get musicians, but nobody's telling them how to find themselves, you know. So it's like, it's a magical thing, you know. So that's what I did as a writer. I think I was able to have people now when they read the book, oh, well, that sounds like you, man. You know, my point of view. So
that's tremendous to be able to find your voice.
Well,
in that medium is something you've never done before.
Yeah, I mean, I would say I worked on this thing for about almost 10 years, 9 or 10 years, because of getting cancer and stopping for quite a while, and then picking it up while I was still sick. But I didn't, you know, I would just play the piano a little bit every day and try to write a little bit every day. I couldn't read a book. I was so out of it, and I just basically just laid in bed and watched all the episodes of Friends, and I watched, you know, Midnight in Paris over and over in the internship. I was just trying to keep some positive vibe going for myself. But anyway, so the writing, you know, it kind of came out of it was Phoenix rising out of the, you know, the illness. But yeah, that was I'm proud of it. I'm very proud of the book. I can't say that it's the greatest book ever written, but it is the greatest book I ever wrote.
Hey.
So, and I think it has a lot of really good information for people. I mean, it's a page turner, but it also has you know, information about being a musician. I really try to open up about how I feel when I'm playing, and, you know, having the Tourette's and what happens inside me, and, you know, just the impulses and the sensual sort of experience I have for music, you know. So as well as, a lot of funny stories.
You feel it different, I'm sure. Besides the book, I know Polly directed a film. Wrote and directed?
Yeah, wrote, directed, and starred. I mean, she's done a couple films like that, but she wrote, directed, and starred in a film that came out a couple years ago, 3 years ago, called Stella's Last Weekend. And it starred her, and it starred our sons, Nat Wolff and Alex Wolff, and I wrote the score to it. And it's about, it's a really beautiful movie about, really it's about two brothers in love with the same girl. And, but they come home, one comes home from college because their dog, Stella, is dying. It's an old dog. And what happened was we had to get this dog for the movie, so we went and found a really old dog that looked sickly, it was in bad shape. We got her, and then we kept her, and then she Benjamin Buttoned and got all young and peppy, and we just had to. She lived 5 years. We just put her to sleep this year, or last,
During the pandemic, he did.
Yeah. But she was a great girl, and anyway, that was a great experience for the whole family. We've done stuff. We did the Naked Brothers Band TV show together. Then now it started, and Polly created it, show ran it, directed it, wrote it, and I did the music for that, and I played the father on that show. It was a Nickelodeon show. It's been off the air a long time. But it was a really great family experience because we're 4 freelancers, so we generally don't do stuff together. I mean, for fun we did, when we were kids. When they were kids, we would all play together, and they'd make up plays and stuff like that. But so for everybody to get together at that point 3 or 4 years ago and work together was amazing because Nat and Alex are so busy as actors. I mean, they're really, really busy. Nat's on a new TV show there's one out now called Joe vs. Carol on Peacock, and he plays the husband of Joe Exotic.
How old are they? I still think of him like, 8 and
Nat's
12.
27. No, Nat's 27. Alex is 24. So they're men,
Crazy.
They're young men.
This is, a friend of mine just posted, this is why 11/11 is so important, because I've been doing this show, next Thursday it's going to be 2 years.
Wow.
2 years, twice a day, and the amount of, I was trying to say this to someone today, encapsulate it today. It's about community and connection. It's about learning the art of so many people, and right here, he's a master pianist who's written a book, who's survived cancer, who has Tourette's. I mean, and if anyone ever watched the Arsenio Hall show, was the musical director. For how long? 8 years?
The whole time. It was on about 5.5 years.
I was going to say 5, but I wanted to be generous, so I said 8.
Yeah.
How did you meet him when you were doing stand-up? How did that?
No, I met Arsenio was our opening act when I was with Nancy Wilson in the early 80s. And we were roommates on the road. And we were really close friends at that time. And he always told me, I'm going to have a talk show and you're going to write the theme. And I went, okay, man, that sounds good. I'm up for it. So, then his career happened. He did Coming to America. He filled in for Joan Rivers on The Late Show, and then he got his own show. And then, he and I, whenever I'd go to L.A., because I was living in New York, we would hang. We really played basketball a lot. He had a group of guys, Samuel Jackson, all these actors, and I'd go and play with him, and I wasn't that good. But, we always played basketball together and would hang out. And when he got his show, I was talking to him, and he said, well, I think I want to get an all-female band. I said, that is a fantastic idea. I said, I'll try to help you find musicians. And so I was trying to help him, when he was interviewing people. And one day he called me and said, hey, man, I think I want you to do it. And I said, I don't think I want to move to L.A., man. That doesn't sound right. He goes, well, what are you going to be in New York? You're going to be like a male model or a theater actor? That's all that's happening there. So I said, well, I'll come out and meet with you. So I went out to L.A. and I went into Paramount. I talk about this in the book. I went into Paramount and he was there. It was great to see him. And I met with him and and I've been doing stand-up, so I gave him some tapes of me doing stand-up because that's part of the job, of being a band director, a musical director, and a talk shows. You got to be able to talk. And I met with his producer, Marla Cale Brown, and I walked out of there and he goes, I want you to have this job. I said, all right, I'll come out here. And it was, winter, and it was sunny, and I had to rent a wreck, that was a convertible, $5 a day. I'm down for this. So I came back out, and that was it. You know, I thought I thought it would last 12 weeks, 13 weeks. You know, whatever the first they had bought it for 13 weeks, I guess, Paramount, and it was syndicated. It wasn't on a particular channel, so they had to make deals with every city. You know, so I didn't really think it was. I just used a friend's place. I sublet it. I just took cabs and got rides. And then 13 weeks looked like it was happening. So then I rented an apartment for $400 a month, and I got a car for $575. A Buick LeSabre that was really old, 1975, and that was it. You know, it just happened. It changed my life. I met my wife Polly Draper. She was on 30 something, and she was a guest on the show. And when I was in New York, before I went out to do Arsenio, I used to do stand-up at the Improv in New York, which is on 44th and 9th. And I did Tuesdays. I was the music act, actually. There's a music slot, even though I did comedy, which was early. It was 9:15. And then I'd stay and watch, you know, TV at the bar because I got free beers. And I would always watch 30-something. And I liked this husky-voiced, long-legged
Totally.
brunette named
So
Polly
cool.
Draper. So when I got on Arsenio and I saw on the board, you know, they have a board of who's going to be the guest because you have to, you know, I'd have to know what to play for them to walk on or, you know, whatever. I saw Polly Draper. I thought, oh, Polly Draper. I got to meet Polly Draper. But I didn't really make a big plan to meet her. But anyway, we ended up in the hair and makeup room together, chatted. I mean, I didn't ask her out or anything then. I was too shy. But eventually we got together.
Did you plan that hair and makeup moment?
No. It's just like, I mean, I was just going to go up to her dressing room because there's, you know, I could go anywhere. I was a band leader, so if I wanted to meet somebody like Robin Williams or whoever, or, you know, Dolly Parton, I'd just go knock on their door, and they were always really friendly. So, but I didn't have to do it. We met, we hit it off, you know, we had a lot of laughs, and we both had super long 80s hair, curly and crazy, you know, so, you know, we were there for a while getting our hair done. And then what happened was actually I did some sleuthing and I found out where she lived, which was about 6 blocks from my apartment. So I got some flowers and put them on her doorstep, and I just drive by there and they died. And I kept doing that, leaving a note. And I could get 101 roses from this place for $19.99. So I keep doing it. And then finally she called me months later and she said, who are you, man? She didn't know from my name, you know. And I told her, she said, oh, yeah, I remember you. And I said, yeah. She said, oh, I was doing a movie in Canada. So I asked her out, and we went out, and, you know, we just dug each other, and that was it.
Wow. Again, I would press the applause button right there for Polly and you. So that was your biggest meeting on Arsenio Hall, I would imagine.
Well, that one and Miles Davis, who was my idol. But, yeah, that was the biggest. But let's just leave that as on another category, another plane.
Sure, totally, in its own
but
category.
But the people that I met, and I mean, my idol, my two idols were Cannonball Adderley and Miles Davis, so I got to play with Cannonball. And Miles lived near me at one point in New York, and I was too shy to say hi. I'd see him walking around, but, you know, I was blown away by him. But I got to meet him. He came on the show, and he was really friendly, and then I went that night. Next night, I think, and heard him play, and that meant so much for me. And he gave me one of his, you know, he's an artist, so he gave me one of his pictures, which I still have framed, and we had a really nice time hanging, and that was amazing to me. And then Ray Charles came on, and I got to play with him. I love Ray Charles, you know, and, you know, one time, Wayne Shorter, Chick Corea, and Ayrton came and sat in with the
all
band.
in one, they were all there together.
Yeah, those three were together. Don't ask me why, but they had a featured tune of Caravan, kind of crazy arrangement. And then all night we all played together. It was a blast. And of course, I'd been with Ayrton, and first time I met Chick, and we became really good friends. Mm. And then Wayne, I would see him off and on. I had met Wayne when I was in '76. I was with Jean-Luc Ponty, and we opened for Weather Report, so I'd spend a little time with Wayne. And then Joe Zawinul, who was the Weather Report guy, you know, he had been the pianist before me with Cannonball, so he was very mentorish towards me always. So, you know, there was another world of jazz and music when I was coming up in the the 70s, and you know, everybody was nice to everybody, and everybody was helpful, and all the older musicians would sit with you and show you stuff, and that's how I learned. There was no music books, there was no music, there was maybe Berklee School of Music, there was no jazz program. I mean, when I went to college, it was for classical music, you know. So, I mean, I had a couple of great teachers in the Bay Area, Dick Whittington and Bill Bell, and I was really good friends with Martha Young, you know. But it was more like you had to kind of catch it and learn it on the bandstand. And when I went on the road with Cal Tjader, right when I turned 20, I was really rhythmic. I played in a lot of R&B bands, you know, in Oakland, and with guys who were in Sly Stone's band and stuff like that. But, you know, I didn't know a lot of harmony. I just had the thing, you know, whatever it was. So Cal Tjader was a really good pianist harmonically, and he showed me a lot. I learned a lot of harmony from Cal. He showed me how to play Lush Life, and I learned all about Latin music. I didn't really know about Latin music. He taught me the montunas. I learned how to play every percussion instrument that he could play. Timbales, güiro, clave, you know, conga. I was really, you know, I just autodidact, you know, I just soak up whatever I could. And I practiced the piano every day. I still practiced classical music at that time. A lot of Impressionism and Ravel and Beethoven. No, that's romantic, but, you know, I still read through classical music. I'm not a great classical music player, but I get a lot from it. In fact, my concerto that I'm going to play, Pandemia, the first suite, the first movement is inspired by Ravel, and the third movement's inspired by Bach, even though they're jazz. And the middle movement, I don't know who inspired that. I guess me. But, you know, so in those days, it was just like, and I was also young. I just ate, drank, slept, breathed, lived for music, 24/7, man. Practiced the piano. Even though I didn't practice like my scales and all that, I was playing the piano or playing with other musicians all the time. And one thing I talk about in my book, one person that was super important to me was Bill Evans, the great pianist. And I met him. Well, I heard him, of course, when I was young, and I got turned on to him by my teacher, Dick Whittington, and I loved him. And then I met him when I was with Cal Tjader when I was 20. We'd play a lot of the same venues, and you know, I would just dog him. So finally, he'd say, "Okay, Ted, let's go out to dinner after the show." And so when he'd be playing at El Matador in San Francisco, I'd go over. I'd see 3 sets, and then he and I would go out to eat breakfast almost every night. And he was so nice because I was badgering him. You know, what was it like playing with Miles? What do you play on this chord? Blah 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 blah. You know, he appreciated it because I just needed to know that stuff. I was obsessed. That's how I learned, by this obsession.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Well, it's probably how everybody that really, you know, I get some students in there in their 20s. And truthfully, all the people I know that were great, we were all great in our teens. You know, I mean, it was like, it was just a different thing, you know. I mean, I feel like if you can discourage someone from being a musician, you should, because it's not an easy life. You know, it has to be people that just have to do it. Don't you feel that?
Oh, it wasn't a choice.
It's not a choice, right?
It chose like, me. Was not a choice.
I mean, that's how my kids are. You know, they're great musicians. They put out albums. They write songs. I never told them to do it. And as far as acting, you couldn't keep them from it. You know, I just watch movies all the time. You know,
But it's genetic. I mean, they didn't have a choice, but it's also genetic. Look who their parents are.
Yeah. Well, my son Alex in interviews will go, "Yeah, I wanted to be a doctor, but my parents made me become an artist." But you know, what I did was I knew that, you know, I really hated lessons as a kid because I didn't like classical music when I was little. But my parents had said, if you want to play jazz, you got to take classical until you're 12. Well, I don't know where they got that idea. But my dad had perfect pitch. He was a doctor, but he loved jazz. So I grew up listening to jazz. And not that I couldn't play it on the piano, but he wanted me to take those lessons. It was probably a good idea, you know. I could learn to read and to do all that stuff. So with my kids, what I did was I decided I wasn't going to give them lessons offhand or get them teachers or anything. They just would come to my gigs. They'd see me playing with all my friends, and I left instruments all around the house without saying anything. I left, you know, drums and guitars and saxophones and whatever I could get my hands on, just to see what they would do. And then generally, both of them, by the time they're 6 years old, were begging me for lessons, you know, to give them lessons. And that That's the only way you can. Otherwise, it's too painful. And I would still, when they were a little older, I would sit with my son Nat, and we get in big fights. I was trying to get him to learn to read and do all this stuff. And finally, I just had to give up and say, okay, you're on your own, man. You just got to do it. But I mean, that's how it has to be. I think it has to be.
Comes from the soul.
You have a divining rod, and it keeps pushing you towards. Divining rod is what those old people have on the beach when they're trying to find coins in the sand. Now they probably got electronic stuff, but they're so it's just something that just brings you to it. And then I still talk with Sonny Rollins on the phone. He's 91 years old, and we talk every couple of months, and we have long. He's so sweet. He gave me a blurb for my book, which was really sweet. He said, Mike Wolff is one of the greatest musicians I ever played with. I hope this book sells because he owes me money. Such a jazz blurb, man.
Well, and I think that the timing, I mean, that you started with Cal Tjader. I read the article. I don't know if you've read it. Have you read the article that Andrew Gilbert wrote?
Yeah, what a great article.
Beautiful.
I talked with him a few days ago. Oh. I've known him over the years, but wow, that was beautiful.
I love him, and he's been on the show a few times, and
what
is
a great
just
guy, right?
such a good person. But I knew, because I knew you through Nick and John and everybody, and I didn't know you were 19 when you started playing with him. But you have divine time. I don't call it luck. I think that, for you to meet him at 19 and to have the whatever you want to call it, to go up and say you want to play with him, and then from there you have played with people that are icons in our world of jazz and in music. I mean, everyone knows who Miles Davis is. Everyone should know who Nancy Wilson is. Everyone knows who Arsenio Hall is, and people know who Polly is. It's like all
Dizzy,
these different.
all those people,
Dizzy, you played with Dizzy. Do you know Dizzy?
He played with me. I'll tell you something funny. The attitude now, and this started happening quite a while ago, is people, young musicians, like, oh, it's an honor, and they idolize these people. My generation did not idolize these people. We were like, fuck those old guys, man. We want to play the music we want to play. We like the Stones and Earth, Wind, and Fire, or, whoever we like, James Brown, and we like jazz, and we like, so we were like trying to mix it in, and, I'll be honest, I changed as I got older, but I was such a cocky little dude, man. That's why I got those gigs. I would just say, okay, when I saw Cal, I go, I'm ready to play in your band. He's like,
19.
Okay, come sit in with me, man. I was like, come on, I'm ready. I don't want to sit around here at UC Berkeley anymore. I was sick of college, I had gone to UCLA, then UC Berkeley, and I was actually, while I was at UC Berkeley, I was teaching there because they didn't have any jazz, and I was like, get me out of here, and I was in Bill Bell's. I was a ringer in Bill Bell's Alameda Junior College band. That's where
I took that class. I took Bill's class at Alameda.
Yeah. And he had Cannonball as a guest, and she told him about me, and Cannonball said, well, I hear about Mike Wolff. And, I was like, get me onto the road, get me out of here. So I was cocky. The second gig I did with Cal, we did 2 weeks in Arizona at Tucson, which was amazing. And then the second gig was with the Monterey Light Jam with Dizzy and Clark Terry and Willie Bobo and Marta Perazzo, Al McKibben on bass. And I thought, these guys are lucky to have me. I had my wah-wah pedal and my ring modulator and all my, phase shifter and my Rhodes, and they're playing all this bebop. And I'm going, fuck these old gula guys, come with this shit, That's what I thought, I didn't appreciate it. So, I knew they were great, of course. And Dizzy was sweet to me. I'd always see, he was always nice, and I'd always run into him. But, Clark Terry, we stayed friends.
Oh, Clark.
All the time. All those cats, man. Not that we're calling each other up and going out to movies, but, I was, in those days, there was no internet, there was no cell phones, so every night in New York.
But it was New York.
Every night in New York. Every night I'd leave my house at midnight or maybe 11, and I'd go to all the clubs, and, I went there in 74, and everybody knew me. I was playing with Ayrton. And you could get into every club for free, and you might sit in or just hang. Everybody was there, man. Everybody was on the scene. It was no, if you had a gig, you had to call people on the phone and tell them you were going to do it, or maybe make a flyer and mail it. But, it was a different world.
Sorry,
which I loved. I'm so happy. You were in it, too. I'm glad we were when we were, because it was so interactive.
Well, I I go to a club and there's Mike Wolff. I'm like, oh, cool. There's Sylvia Cuenca. There's Essia. There's Mike Clark. There's it's like it's just what it is.
Yeah, when you were in New York, I think you came over. Peggy was over, right? Peggy Stern.
Yes.
It was a hang. She happened to be playing next door to my apartment, and then we all hung out. And yeah, it's like that. But in the old days, it was only that. You know, I did a gig, Nancy Wilson, about 15 years ago or something like that. They had a 70th birthday appreciation concert for her at Carnegie Hall. And everybody played, man. Herbie Hancock and Kurt Elling and, you know, and just millions of famous people. And I was on it just to play one tune because that I play with her, Teach Me Tonight. So they have some really great rehearsal rooms in Carnegie Hall. So for a couple of days, we would all meet and, we'd just sit around watching all the other people play with Nancy, and then it would be your turn and you'd play. And then at the end of the day, it was a long day, maybe from 10 to 6 or whatever, 7, nobody wanted to go home, including Herbie Hancock, because we had we weren't communal anymore, even then. So everybody stayed, and Herbie would play, and then I would play, and then Peter Martin would play, or whoever, and then one guy would say, look at this, and it was like the old days of really everybody going to lofts and playing. I mean, I just learned that way, and maybe it's happening with young people, but I don't think it's the same. I don't think they have the same opportunity, but they are.
They have different opportunities.
Yeah.
They can make a record in an hour on their phone.
Right. That's why it's just like doctors and dentists. Most jazz musicians are mediocre.
Exactly. Yeah. Thank you, William. William just posted your Facebook page, and I got to ask you a couple questions though. I mean, I hope you come back. I would love for you to come back.
Not today, but I'll come back. Yeah.
Okay. And tomorrow night, 2 sets, SF Jazz, San Francisco, California. Your kids are going to be there. So what will they be playing, music, instrument-wise?
Well, Matt is on my album Bounce singing a tune that he wrote called Cool Kids, so he'll sing. And then, I haven't asked him if they'll do it, but I think since they're there, they'll do it. And then Alex played on this tune Left Out that I composed and performed and recorded for the book. Play drums, so he'll play drums on that.
And the name of the book again is?
On That Note.
And
it's on Amazon right now. It's just going to be mostly digital, but you can get a real book.
So you're essentially on a book tour tomorrow night as well.
Yeah, I'm going to sell books. Well, I'm going to sign them. San Francisco Jazz is very cautious COVID, so I can't go and sit and sign books with people. They don't allow that. So I'm going to sign them ahead of time and just have them for sale at a table. But I want to go out and see people, so I'll go out and see people between sets. But I'm going to be the only one probably wearing a mask the whole time because I'm very careful.
No, you won't. I'll be sitting there with my. I've been wearing masks for 20 years. I'll be wearing masks for the rest of my life. Oh yeah.
Wow, you were ahead of your time.
I was the freak on the plane. Like people would sit next to me and be like, as I wiped everything down and I have the mask on, and then I'd go, "Would you like a handy wipe?" "Oh no, I'm fine." And then they'd go, "Sure, okay, why not?" So you're going to sell books at the show. Do you make CDs? The actual physical disc?
I do. I'm on Sunnyside Records, so they make real CDs. I love Sunnyside. Francois, the guy that owns it, president's fantastic guy. It's a great relationship. I've put out 3 CDs with him. It's been very successful. They've done really well at radio. My first one, Swirl, went to number 1. Bounce went to number 5. I don't know, the next one was an old one, but it didn't do as well. But, I wasn't pushing it the same way. But, I love having that label because I was on Columbia. I've been on a million labels, I'm like the guy that can't keep a gig. I'm on a million labels. But Sunnyside has been a great relationship. So, yeah, they put out CDs. I would love to have an album. I've never had an album on vinyl, which I really want to do. It's less. I don't do long CDs, maybe 48 minutes. I don't like my early ones were like 60 minutes. I don't like that. It's too long. So, you could get, I don't know, with a vinyl, you could get 40. Yeah, you don't want too much on there because you want to may do that with one of my, but right now, my CD is going to
Maybe
be
a solo. What about a solo piano album?
I have one out. It's called Zenith.
But an album, a solo album.
Oh, an album. You mean an actual album? I have a CD out. I mean, I could do it. Solo's not really my thing and my best thing. I mean, I've been playing it all my life by myself, but I feel like, for me, the interaction with bass and drums or other musicians is my favorite thing. I mean, I like solo, and during my concert, I'll play some little solo introductions or solo things, but I truly think I'm the greatest solo pianist that's playing stride and all that. I don't do that, I'm really I'm kind of like a composer on the piano. I mean, I have my technique and I can play, but I like to think of it, like the piano's an orchestra, and that's how I approach it. It's colors. I have a thing called synesthesia. So
I do too. I have synesthesia. Yes.
Well, I'll tell you what I have colors for. I have colors for notes, keys, I have colors for days of the week, months of the year, and numbers.
Totally.
And I never tried to do it, and I didn't know it was different, and then I learned about it. I was friends with Oliver Sacks, the neurologist, and that's where I found out about it. That's where I found out I had Tourette's syndrome, too, reading his books. But, yeah. So synesthesia, it just makes everything, different. I think about when I'm playing, if I'm in A flat, that's a sort of a dark red. Also, I have a thing where certain notes, like an F sharp, I feel it in my mouth. It's crazy. It feels dusty in my mouth. Some weird shit,
dude,
but that's how I roll.
I'm so there with you. I was asked to sing on a movie, on a documentary, and somebody started talking about synesthesia in the documentary, and I'm going, this is me. I thought everybody thought like that. I thought everybody saw that.
Yeah, me too. When you're little.
Oh yeah, doesn't everybody see Wednesday is green?
Blue for me.
Blue for you.
Everybody has different colors, but yeah.
Say, I have a question for you. What do you usually eat for breakfast?
My preference is to go out for breakfast to a diner or something, but of course I haven't done that much. I just eat all different stuff. Like sometimes, at home in New York, I'm one of the only guys. I love grits because I grew up in the South. So I have instant grits. It's great. Just put them in the microwave. I got a couple of eggs over that. I'll eat some pineapple, some fruit, maybe a little toast. Sometimes that's kind of traditional breakfast. And then sometimes if I'm in LA, I like to go to this restaurant, Hugo's. That's where I always went in West Hollywood.
Yeah, I used to live
I get a
there.
dish called pasta papa, which is eggs cooked into pasta with turkey bacon. That's one of my faves. So I'm not, that's what I eat. And sometimes I'll just eat yogurt and fruit. It just depends. But I gotta take a million pills, so I gotta have something in my stomach. Because I'm still on a bunch of meds, and I'm gonna be on chronically forever.
Do you take supplements now also? Do you take stuff to keep?
Yeah. I take B, I take, multiple, I take D, 5,000 of D, I take CoQ10. I'm on anticoagulants because, I don't know how much you want to go medically in it, but I ended up getting, because of all the treatments, you have these white blood cells, and I think you have 7,000 or 8,000 that protects you from infection. But when I was sick and almost dying, mine went down to 40.
Yeah.
So, I got this fungal infection in my superior vena cava, which is the vein above the heart. And it's one that allows the blood from your head and your arms and your hands to flow into the heart. So eventually this vein, which is on both sides and it goes into the heart, got kind of messed up and necrotic and blood clots or whatever, and then I would get really swollen and I have to go in. So I've had over 20 procedures where they go in and open it up and put stents in, so I'm on these blood thinners. And so I do a couple shots a day in my stomach, which I'm just going to tell you I do. And then I take a little baby aspirin. So
this is what 1111's all about, man. I'm telling you.
A lot of fucking maintenance, My advice to people is is don't get cancer.
Don't get cancer.
But you know what? I was a vegetarian for 25 years. I worked out all the time. I didn't smoke. So, you know, it isn't about that. Now, I was in New York during 9/11. I don't live downtown. You know, I don't know what gave it to me, but I've asked doctors. They don't really know.
They don't know. But you found a miracle doctor.
I did, a rare cancer doctor. And I have so many people that call me, and he's really a sarcoma guy. But, you know, he's amazing. I've sent a few people to him, but, you know, he treats certain kinds of disease.
I have a young cousin. I'm interrupting. I have a young cousin. She's 30 years old. She is now the head of the breast cancer studies at MD Anderson in Texas.
Well, I was just going to say, to me, the three that I know that are the ones are MD Anderson, Memorial Sloan Kettering, and Dana-Farber up at Harvard, Boston. But, you know, there's UCSF is great. There are a lot of great places, but I'm so lucky that in New York I got to this cancer hospital with this doctor. And I've asked this doctor, if I got to any of these other sarcoma doctors, would they have figured it out? He goes, no. You know,
Again, you have divine time.
I guess that's the way to look at it. Like, well, the way I look at it now is like, what am I going to do with this time? Because it's borrowed time for sure, you know. And it really, I'll say being sick changed my view of things. I mean, not 100%, but it definitely made me appreciate things and made me realize, as much as I love music, my family is the most important thing. But in my music, I want to be expansive. That's why I'm writing for strings, and you know. But you know, I'm just who I am as a player, as a composer. You know, I'm not like everybody else.
Always been nice to me. You know, if I see you in a club, if I see you at a conference, you've always connected with me, and I appreciate that so much.
Well, you're always nice to me. You're a nice person. I mean, but yeah, I've learned to, even before having cancer, I just like people, you know. I'm social. And part of why I like to play in bands is the social part of it.
For sure. That's family.
Well, better than family, hopefully. Hopefully less hassles. I remember on the Arsenio House, they go, we're a big family. It's like 100 people. I go, I fucking hope not. I hope it's not like my family. Sitting at the dinner table not knowing what to say and everybody mad at each other, you know. Fuck that. I want it to be better than family.
It's better than family. It's when my relationship with musicians that I play with, it's better than any relationship you know.
There you go.
I agree.
Is that a bow and arrow or a bearing bow that's over there?
It's a bearing bow.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. This is my sister's house. I'm in Lakeport, California.
Where's that?
It's in, when you're driving up towards Ukiah, you take a right. East of Mendocino. Tatiana Hackett's here.
Oh, nice.
I'm looking out at 3 horses right now. Yeah, you have to
That's
come up
why it was
sometime.
hard to get online. Yeah.
There's a really great gig up here at a hotel called the Tall Man Hotel that John R. Burr and I have done quite a few times. And Kenny Washington was there last.
Oh, I've played with him. I love that guy.
Oh, I know. I love Kenny. I love Kenny.
Well, that's good to know. Well, maybe we could do something up there.
I would love it. I think that needs to happen. Here or somewhere. Here at the house. We'll get a piano and come here. I would love to have you and Polly up here. That would be cool. I don't want to keep you any longer, but I'm going to ask you a big favor. When we hang up here, I'm going to call you back and do something for about 3 minutes. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're going to call my phone or call me back?
I'm going to FaceTime you back, and we're going to do a really quick interview that I post on my Patreon page.
Sounds good.
All right.
This has been a pleasure, man. It was worth getting up. I did set the alarm because I flew in yesterday, but it's cool. It's a beautiful, dappled sunlight day, man.
Isn't it great?
I appreciate it because in New York it was so snowy and cold before we got up.
I left and it was snowing, and I'm here, and it's cool. Tatiana,
Hey,
you're not
do you ride horses?
Not these. These are Spanish. These are really special horses that Katie, my sister's wife, is a master horse person.
Yeah.
And she works with them hours a day, just walking them and doing. I don't even know. She does all this. She's a horse whisperer.
Oh, I love horses.
Yeah,
I love
she's
riding.
deep. She's super deep. So I just sit there and watch her in awe with. I hang out with the pony.
Can you pet him or walk
Oh
him?
yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, good.
There's a pony here named Kelpie, and my dog is here, and so we have a whole thing. But I'm gonna drive down to the Bay Area tomorrow and have lunch with Tatiana, and then I'm gonna get over to the city and.
I'll look forward to seeing you. I'm
hang
really
out.
happy you're coming.
I am too, and if there's anybody here, there are tickets left. I don't even know if there are tickets left. But the cool thing about
tickets for the second show, I don't know 100%, but it'll be a blast.
it'll sell out.
Be there. Shows and, yeah.
What's cool about this show, my 11/11, is that it's on my Facebook page, and it will soon be on your page. And then my friend William lifts it magically and also puts it on YouTube. So it's forever there.
Nice.
Got a call.
All right, well, call me back and we'll do our thing. Thanks everybody for getting up and watching us.
Hey, I'm going to do something really quick with you if you don't mind. Can you give me a letter?
Letter? What do you mean?
A letter from A to Z, a letter.
W.
W. Wow, this was fun with Mike today. W. All of you come. I'm glad you hang with me today. I hope that all of you stay safe, stay healthy, and be real nice. And buy Mike's book. Yes, buy Mike's book because it's wise and it's wonderful. So everybody today, from your thoughts, make them
very nice.
Wise thoughts from your words, make them wonderful. And from your heart, I am honored deeply from my heart. And I'm wowed, so wowed that Mike Wolff was here today. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Michael. See you in a minute, and I'll see you tomorrow night. Love hard, all everyone. Right. Real hard. See ya.
All right. I'll sign out.
Signing out. Bye-bye. If you guys don't all share this show and tell your friends about this show, I don't know what to tell you. Later. I gotta go.